I'm about to make some dumb shit. We get in trouble for cussing in the first 10 seconds, which is like stupid. I hate that. Like, let me say fuck. I mean, fuck. We're going to cook today. Today's pork choice is going to be a gorgeous pork burger. We're going to make it breakfast style, but you can use this pork burger just as any type of burger. If you want to throw some coleslaw on it, you can, but it's going to be really good. We're going to make a bourbon bacon jam from scratch, and we're going to make a maple aioli. We're going to throw some egg on top of this. It's just going to be absolutely amazing. I can't wait. We've been talking about making this burger for the longest time, but we had to do it at the right time because when you eat it for breakfast, there's no more eating for the rest of the day. Let's start out with our aioli because some of these things are going to require a lot more time, a la the burgers, which we're going to be smoking, and the bacon jam, which is probably going to take longer than anything. So we're going to go ahead and get the aioli out the way, starting out with just one egg. And we're going to use only the yolk of this egg. And we're going to do our good old fancy trick here to separate it from the egg white by just passing it back and forth. Let that white go. And one more time, if I can get it. Boom, just like that. We've got egg yolk. And you can absolutely do this just with a whisk, but I'm being lazy today because it's Sunday. So that's why I've got the stand mixer out. And I'm going to take half a teaspoon of just some lemon juice as I try to squeeze it. There we go. We've got some Dijon mustard. And I am just going to use a tablespoon's worth. Oh, yep, getting that liquid. Don't want that. A lot more liquid. All right. 1 tablespoon of that's going on, and then we'll also do some stone ground mustard. Any type of grainy mustard you want, you can use. But Dijon mustard and yes, stone ground mustard, 2 types of mustards. And again, 2 tablespoons of that. Then we've just got some maple syrup here, and we're gonna go about 1.5 tablespoons of it. I'm gonna kind of just really free pour it. And we'll just go like that. We'll say that's a half. And we've also got a 1/2 cup of some olive oil here. I just wanna measure it out first because we're gonna pour this in slowly after we start whisking all these other ingredients. And that's gonna help things come together and create our aioli. All right, and with the whisk on, our KitchenAid stand on, we'll go about a medium speed. And again, if you want to, you can absolutely do this with just a bowl and a whisk. Again, it's Sunday and I'm just being lazy. So once we've got that going, what I wanna do is just very slowly pour this olive oil in. Because I want to give it a chance to come together and emulsify. You could also do this in a food processor, FYI. All right, so let's see what we got going on here. That's actually really damn good. A little bit of salt and pepper, just a little bit. Like I'm gonna just start with like a pinch of salt like that. And then kind of same thing with the pepper. Pinch of salt, pinch of pepper. Let's give it one more little mix. Un más taste. Yeah, that's really good. That's gonna be amazing on the burger. Aioli's done. Let me clean up a little bit and then we're gonna start on our burger patties. Now we're on my favorite part, which is making the pork burger. If you've never had a ground pork burger, it's honestly one of the best tasting, juiciest burgers you'll ever have. But to put this together, first we gotta do a few things. Now you will need a food processor for this part. What we're gonna do is take a couple strips of bacon. I'm probably gonna use close to this entire pack because I'm kind of doubling this recipe today because we're making some pretty damn big burgers. So what I wanna do is just get this on at a low speed. Hopefully you can hear me. So what I'm really looking for is, I don't know, like 8 slices of bacon. I'm just gonna go in a little bit at a time because I don't wanna overwhelm and burn out the motor of my food processor. So I'm gonna drop in 2, see? Drop in 2. Drop in another 2. And we'll give it time to break down before we move to the next one because that's why it's shaking so much. Now I'm just going to give a quick little pulse. And this is now our ground bacon, which is going to get mixed into our meat, into our bowl where we're going to mix everything else up. And I was looking for maple bacon today, and they didn't have it, but it's fine because we have the maple aioli. But if you can find a maple bacon, not a bad move. Now we're going to add our ground pork. And this is regular ground pork. You know, kind of just be aware when you're buying pork, like don't buy the Italian sausage. Don't, where put, oh, there it is. Don't buy the country sausage, just regular, plain ground pork. It's our first pound and our next pound, because our burgers today, while I'm only really making 4 burgers, they're going to be about half pounders, maybe a little bit more because we did add bacon to it. But because we're smoking them, these need to be some bigger burgers. If we were going hot and fast over like a hot bed of charcoal, then I'd probably make this a little bit smaller. I've also got half a teaspoon of dried sage. If you've never had sage before, it's going to definitely remind you of breakfast. So that goes in. I've got, I don't know, the equivalent of like 3 cloves of garlic here. I'm just gonna freshly press in. If you don't have a garlic press, you can just go ahead and just mince them. I feel like whenever there's a recipe that says only use such and such amount of garlic, I double it always because I love fresh garlic. And garlic is good for your heart. And when you're eating something like this, you need every ally. And then I just wanna hit it with a little bit of salt. Just got some sea salt here. No real measurement of it, I'm kind of just eyeballing it, but if I had to take a guess, right now it seems like that's just half a teaspoon's worth, and I'll probably do the same for the pepper. So give or take half teaspoon for each one. And now we mixed. And when you're making burger patties, you never want to overwork it, so I want to make sure everything's incorporated. I want to make sure definitely like that bacon is spread very well evenly, but I don't want to overwork it to where like the fats and the meat start to melt. And we're still going to put a little bit more seasoning on the outside of it right before we put it on the smoker, but we just want to make sure that we've got a decent amount of flavor already worked in there. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. That is our burger mix. Now let's see what I can do with one hand. I want half pounders is what I'm aiming for. Nice, nailed that one. All right. Now remember, we did add bacon to this, so it's gonna be more, it's gonna be a lot of meat essentially, but we'll get the initial burger weighed out, and then we'll just add the excess on at the end. Again, we don't wanna overwork this too much, because the more we do, the more the fat renders. So just getting into its ball. Shaping as best as I can. Normally I do the trick where I'll just kind of hold it over the bun to make sure it's at the right size, because as you remember, these are going to shrink a little bit. I should have taken a bun out, but I did not. But this could go a little bit wider. Cool. There's one. And then what we're going to do after I get these patties formed, I'm going to stick them in the freezer for about 30 minutes, which is perfect because it allows it to firm up, because we're going to smoke these. We're not going hot and fast. And so if we were to put them on there right now while they're warm, they'll just fall apart. And we don't want that, because they're going to be in the grill a lot longer than a normal burger patty would be on there if we were just going over charcoal. And the other thing is we can get started on our bacon jam, because that is going to take anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour to do. But no sweat, because what should be happening, if I time this right, is that our burgers should be finishing just as the bacon jam is finishing. In theory, that's what's supposed to happen. We're gonna attempt these burgers today. It's ground pork, which is different from beef in the sense of like, you know, you want your burger well done. Do you want a medium? Do you want a medium rare? With pork, it's done or it's not done. So we're going to aim for 165 degrees with our ground pork today. That's gonna ensure that it is cooked and that it won't get you sick. Because the last thing I want is to make you guys sick, because you might come after me in court, but also I don't want to turn you off from pork. Now these go into the freezer again just for 30 minutes, and let me clean up again, and then we're going to get started on the bacon jam. Sorry, it is bourbon bacon jam time. If you have not had bacon jam yet, I'm telling you, go for it. I've got a pack and a half of bacon or so that I've just chopped up here. These little squares, everything's gonna cook down, but we're gonna start out just cooking this like regular bacon. And the last time, right? The last time we did this, the sign that your bacon was ready is when that foam starts appearing on the top and all the grease. That's always a sign it's time to take off. So I've got this over just a medium-high heat. And you guys have seen bacon before, but I'll just show you the foam part in case you didn't see it in my last video, once this bacon cooks down some. All right, this is the foam I was talking about, which lets me know that our bacon has cooked enough. So with a slotted spatula, because we don't want to take all that grease, just into a plate with some paper towels so this can drain off. And then real quick, I just want to show you guys, some of you may do this already, and some of you have not yet. I, for years, did not do it for a long time, but now I do, which is what to do with your bacon grease. So I've got just this container right here that I just keep over above the kitchen area. And all I do is I take my bacon grease, run it through a strainer directly into the jar. Now I want to keep about 2 tablespoons worth of bacon grease in here, so I'm not going to pour all of it. And then this should catch everything. And then, yeah, cool. It's about 2 tablespoons worth. And then bacon grease you can use for anything. If you're making collard greens, like a lot of Southern foods utilize bacon grease. If you're doing something like you've got some tortilla shells and you want to put a little bit of fat in the pan and make them crispy, bacon grease goes a long way. So no more worrying about how to dispose of it. Keep it in a jar like this, and we're good. All right, so now with the bacon grease that I did leave behind, I want to take some onions. I had 2 sweet yellow onions that I had. I mean, you can use a white onion if you want to, but I'd rather use these sweet yellow variety. And I've just diced them up, and I'm just gonna put them in here, still over kind of a medium-high heat, because we're not doing a saute. We just want to start softening these. Get it all mixed up there in that bacon grease. Make sure it's touching everything. And then when it begins to brown, that's when we'll start adding our other ingredients. So give this a couple of minutes, depending on just how your oven is. It could go anywhere from just like 10 minutes to 20 minutes. But I'll show you what it looks like before we get to our next step. One step that I kind of forgot, so my apologies, is just a tablespoon of butter that I would have put in there with the bacon fat and let it melt, but it's all good to go in here now. And then also just a little bit of sea salt. We don't need to go crazy with it. So I don't know what that is, maybe like half a teaspoon's worth. Yeah, just mix this around. But normally it would be the 2 tablespoons of bacon fat, and then you would throw the tablespoon of butter in there. Onions go in, and then after just a little bit, the salt goes on. So I just want to make sure that I included that in there. And yes, the process continues of cooking everything down. All right, our onions have softened up enough. This is kind of what we're looking for, to just start to caramelize. To just start to caramelize. So what I'm gonna do right now is I've got half a cup of bourbon, and that is our pour choice of today. Just some bullet bourbon here that me and Lewis have been sipping on. And we're just gonna go ahead and just pour that on in. And I'm doing these slightly different from the last bacon jam that I did, only because we have this alcohol we need to cook off. Wow, wow, wow. All the vapors just hit me in the mouth by accident. Oh, it got me a little drunk. And then I've got some honey here. I want to go about half a cup of honey. Normally it would be brown sugar, but we're just gonna go with honey today. Let's just give this a good mixing up. And just like last time, what we really want is to kind of bring this up to a boil, because we do want to cook off some of that alcohol, but we want some of this juice to begin to evaporate. So I'm gonna give this about 10 minutes, which is perfect because I'm actually gonna go fire up my grill right now. I'm gonna aim for my grill to be at 275 because we're gonna smoke these burgers, and they are ready to come out of the freezer right now. They firmed up, and I may flatten them just a little bit more just to kind of make them wider, but once you've taken them out the freezer, you'll understand how much more pliable they are, and they won't feel like they're falling apart, which is the benefit as I move my head out the way of this light. So yes, this is going to continue to cook. And then all we have to do is add some balsamic vinegar, our bacon back in, and that'll cook down as the burgers are cooking. So again, everything should be coming out around the same time. And this is a recipe that in real time, if I wasn't filming this, this would take me like 45 minutes to do, but because I'm doing everything step by step, it is taking a considerable amount of the day. But it's fun. Some of our liquid has reduced, but it's reduced enough to where we can kind of start doing the next thing. But our onions are definitely starting to caramelize, and the most important thing is that bourbon has cooked off a considerable amount, but that flavor is still there. So what I'm gonna do is just add this bacon from earlier. All of that delicious bacon. Oh, maybe I might eat a piece. I'd say about a tablespoon and a half, maybe even 2 of just balsamic vinegar. I'm gonna kind of eyeball this one. Bam. And from here, all we're doing now is just waiting for this to get to a jam consistency, just like last time. I've still kind of got this over a medium heat, maybe a little bit more medium high. I left it higher this time versus last time just because, again, we wanted to cook off that alcohol, so we needed it to kind of be boiling the entire time. But yeah, now that all that is mixed up, we're just gonna let it do its thing. All I'm gonna do for these pork burgers real quick is I've just got this AP rub, Killer Hogs all-purpose rub. You can use any type of all-purpose rub, which is really just salt, pepper, garlic, but I like this one because it's already done for me. And we're just gonna hit it with a little bit, and then yes, we're gonna flip it and get it on that other side. And the cool thing about doing these burgers low and slow like this versus just over some hot and fast coals is that we don't have to flip these. They're going to cook perfectly even on our grill. So that is less work for our drunk asses to do. So these are ready to go on. Let's go up.
Get underneath that though, John?
Huh? Underneath
you didn't
what?
get the underneath second one.
Yeah, I did. Oh, shit, you're right. Good catch. I was gonna make you eat that one too. That's crazy that you caught that.
I'm on full flavor.
Well, now I'm gonna have to give you a trash burger. I'm gonna drop it on the ground. Yeah, these are about to go up to the grill, so we're gonna go upstairs real quick, and this just sits and does its thing. And again, as I said, hopefully maybe 40 minutes for these, 40 minutes for this, and then everything comes together. The Traeger is up to 275 degrees. That's what we're cooking on today, but whatever grill that you have at home, whether it's just a regular Weber, just indirect cooking, which means get your meat away from the fire and keep it low and slow. 275, if you're using charcoal grill, throw some pecan wood on there. You can throw some cherry, some apple wood, but just low and slow with some smoke. And then I'm gonna come back up here and check on them in about 20 minutes just to kind of see how it's doing, even though I know they won't be done yet. I may add a pat of butter to each one because why not, it's breakfast. But for right now, we just close this up and let it do its thing, and then we'll wait for this to finish in the bacon jam. Hopefully you can hear me. All right, our burgers are almost done. Last thing I just wanna do real quick is just take some butter. Nope, if I can, the wind isn't disrupting everything. Take some butter, just let it melt on these. We didn't have to flip them. You can see the juice is dripping down. What I'm checking for is for them to get to at least 160 degrees. 165 is what the ideal temperature is, but 160 you can take them off and let them carry over. So this butter is going to melt for about the next 10 minutes or so, and then 160, take them downstairs, and we are going to build the most delicious burger. I cannot wait. So downward we go. Our burger is done. It got to 160 degrees, and as you can see, we've plated a very beautiful burger here. I just want to add, with the bacon jam, it's funny, when we went upstairs to put the burgers on the first time, that 5 minutes, the heat was a little bit too high, so when it came back down, I turned the heat down to more of a medium heat, and I added about a half cup of water, because if you don't do that, it's just gonna start burning, and you don't want that. And then I also just put in a little bit more honey because I just prefer it more sweeter. The one thing I would change is I would add some brown sugar, but I just made up for it by just adding more honey. So definitely give it a taste before you say my bacon jam is done. But other than that, the burger is here. I have it on a potato bun. No, my bread's not ashy. It's just a potato bun, but it just goes really, really well with breakfast type of burgers. So That's it, Poor Choices Kitchen. Can't wait to see y'all here next week for whatever I can afford because things are getting pretty tight.